Set though. I have Josh on standby in the other room. He is my tech guy, and he will let me know if the audio or the video is cutting out. So hopefully it's all working so we can get into it. I'll probably start in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll let people kind of join in, and we'll kind of do our little introductions, and then we'll start in on the drawing, and then more importantly, we'll talk about creating your own confidence. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, so I'm very excited to chat with you guys. Hi everyone. Digital is one of our wonderful mods, not only here on YouTube, but also on our wonderful Discord that you can join below. Zigzag, hello. Barbara, hello, hello. I don't know if I'm nervous necessarily to return to stream, but the thing that I am nervous about is tech issues. I'm weirdly more nervous about the audio or the video cutting out than I am about what I'm actually talking about or what I'm actually drawing, which is a very weird backward state of mind for a artist streamer. Yeah. No, I'm very excited for today. I just learned about YouTube's the question and poll feature, so I'm going to be doing that up quite a bit. All right, you're saying turn the mic up. Okay, I turned it up. Let me know if that works better or if we need to even go a little more. That's why we do these, just to check. Hi, Daryl. Hi, Hajar. Hello, hello. Curse Fetus, what up? Houdini Bot, man, this is a lot of old familiar faces. Welcome back, welcome back. Okay, I might need, and much better for volume? Okay, much better. So yeah, I've been very excited to come back to streaming, and if you haven't noticed, we have a new backdrop. I did a little hot glue and gold foil on my name, and I painted the back wall Viridian Green, which is my absolute favorite color. And then I actually organized what's behind me so that it's more objectively practical, where it's like my journals, my gold pens, everything tarot related, and all my pencils and what I need to work with. So I'm very excited about this. Hi, Joe the Wizard. Hello, Amy. Oh, Amy. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Okay. So I think we're just going to kind of jump in. So hello everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart Online, and I am making my return to streaming as I have a lot that I want to share with my fellow artists, and I want to give back to the community. And I hopefully will kind of be moving into a position where I could be like a mentor or something where I can inspire or motivate those who might just need a little extra pep or a little, a pat in the back, or you're on the right path, because I have taken some time off to get married, to make this massive art book. And in the process, I've been reading a lot of books about self-improvement and how to engage with the world as yourself and with others. And I feel like I'm in the most positive, grounded state I've ever been in. And because I feel so good in my personal life, it has then reflected into my art career and what I create. And I think I'm realizing there's definitely a correlation between the two. And that's what I want to give back to you guys, is how do you find your own confidence so that it can correlate into your own work, and you can push out drawings and art that you actually feel kind of align with what you want to create. So I have 2 pages of notes. If you see me look down often, that's why. And before I get into my little story talking about why we're doing confidence and what I'll be drawing today, I do want to say that we have a Discord that you can join for free below, and Josh is our wonderful mod, as well as Tijal, who's on the stream with us. So they are on the Discord, and we do chats on there as well on Thursdays, and Tijal sometimes does life drawing sessions that I am usually a part of, so if you want to do some of those, that is on our Discord. And then lastly, please ask questions. This is going to be a little different than my previous streams I used to do, where I want way more interaction between myself and the community. So in chat, if you could just put @Vonnarts, and that way I can see it. But I'm also going to be using the question feature quite often here on YouTube. So we are going to be having more of a personal one-on-one get to know each other type deal. So, okay. Title and overview. Let's tackle confidence head on. So this is something that I notice a lot of artists struggle with. I think just in nature, by nature, we're more sensitive. We often express ourselves in visuals over words. A lot of us are introverts. A lot of us feel like the other. And we're going to kind of explore that today. So to start off, let me get also, hello everyone. Hi, Felix. Let me grab. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first question for you guys. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident would you describe yourself? All right, let's see if, like I said, I've never done the Q&A feature before, so I'm going to try it. Oh, interesting. So it pops up as a separate window. Okay. So yeah, if you could let me know that, because I'm just curious on what kind of a scale we're working with today. Do I have a lot of people in the chat that are actually very confident and maybe this talk is more of just a refresher? Or do I have people that may just need a little bit of a confidence boost? So yeah, please answer that. So I wanted to talk about how even the art friends that I have that are making, 100K plus, they definitely waver with their confidence all the time. It's up and down, and it's something that I think when you're younger, you assume when an artist quote unquote makes it, or they're seen as like they hit a status point, that things are just way easier and they're more comfortable and you just naturally gain confidence. Now, part of that is true. But what I have been noticing is even my friends that are making, let's say, closer to like $500,000 a year on their art, they waver quite a bit on their confidence. And if anything, it's a little more shaky because it becomes more financially driven, and their confidence then becomes more objective based on numbers rather than how, proud they are of the work that they are creating. So I think out the gate, I just wanted to let everyone know there has never been an artist that I haven't met that hasn't had a little bit of a shaken confidence, or they go up and down, or they have moments, or even I would say periods in their life where they're just feeling down. They don't feel like they are creating things of merit, or they quote unquote lost their confidence. And we're going to talk about that specifically and how I believe you never can actually lose confidence. And there's this public speaker, I really love her. Her name's Mel Robbins. I read her book, The Let Them Theory. And she believes that you can never lose your confidence because confidence is an action. And the idea is that real confidence, and this is done by research, or at least she claims it is, that it's a willingness to try. So if you are willing to try, that's confidence. And the reason you can never lose that is because if you never lose your ability to want to try, then you're never going to lose your confidence. So I thought that was really interesting. And I'm realizing as I'm getting older and as I'm going through my career that confidence is something to me that I think when I was younger, I just had it naturally. And I think that's because everyone was praising me and everyone was, saying I was the art kid. And that has led into my career being very bullheaded and, fake it till you make it, all that stuff. But now that I'm in my mid-30s, I think I was questioning it quite a bit. And I think especially the story that I want to tell you, and that's why it leads into what I'm drawing today, is last September. We were getting for a Drawtober, which is our October drawing challenge. And I was struggling to even come up with my Drawtober prompts. And there is a vampire that I drew. This is almost embarrassing to show, but I think it's good for you guys to witness this. So I wanted to draw, actually I'll show you the final product first to give you context. So this was the vampire I drew. It was just a simple concept with a vampire with a cage on his head. And it should not have taken me as long as it did. But I'm going to show you on the back end. I was drawing so many iterations of this character because I could not find the proportions. I couldn't figure out if I wanted the style to be more like a Leica animation studio or if I wanted to have more realistic proportions. And I even did, there's some on this page too. So I just kept struggling with it. And this isn't even including my digital thumbnails that I did of him. And then there was a point where I was getting so frustrated because I've drawn this vampire idea at least 40 or 50 times at this point, and not one was sticking. And I remember thinking, I think I've lost my creativity. I think I've lost my ability, or not creativity, but my ability to commit and be like, yeah, this is the direction I'm going in and we're going to go full hard. Now, the other problem was up until this point, I was creating a process for myself that I now call bumpers, where I would use a 2H pencil for 80% of the drawing, and then I would switch to an HB, which is a darker value, for like the next 15%, and then I would end with my small mechanical pencil and a 2B pencil to really punch the values. I thought this was like a great process. It was very methodical, only to find out it was kind of like putting bumpers on the way I drew, because using a 2H pencil, even though I love it, actually this is a 3H today, but even though I love my lighter pencils, I realized I was using them because I was afraid of commitment early on, and I could always erase it if I needed to, where an HB pencil, it's a little harder to erase. So that was a little frightening. And I think I realized I am spending so much time, or I'm wasting so much time on basically these parameters that I've created for myself, that I took a look at this piece of paper. So I was doing my vampire drawings, and I was like, okay, Tim, you need to prove yourself that you can still draw. I'm going to set a timer. I have my little yellow timer over there. I was like, I'm going to set it for an hour. You have an hour to prove to yourself that you can still draw. And it may sound silly, but weirdly, in the moment, I kind of needed this. I was so frazzled, and the idea that I became so distant from the work itself that it didn't even feel like me anymore, I had to prove to myself that I still could. Anyways, long story short, I think this was the hour drawing. Very simple, just a pumpkin creature. And it kind of showed me, okay, I can do this. And I know it's nothing crazy elaborate, and it's nothing that I would, write home about. But this little pumpkin guy proved to me that I have the ability to trust my intuition and lay down values and push with an HB pencil out the gate and kind of be okay with it. And whatever lines are being pushed down, I'm committing to them. So this was huge for me, because I think I realized I am confident and I do trust myself, but I think I was kidding myself, and I was convincing myself that I needed some kind of a methodical process, or I needed all these parameters. So that's why I call it like bumpers, like you would in bowling, where it's like, even if you know how to bowl, why do I have the bumpers up? It was like being afraid that I would get gutter balls. So that is why I'm going to be drawing a pumpkin guy today on the stream. And I'm going to be doing it. I had a little thumbnail I posted on our Discord that you can check out. But essentially, it's going to be nothing too complicated, because I think today's live stream is more focused on the context of what I'm saying over what I'm drawing. So hopefully that will connect with you, and hopefully we can kind of bridge the gap between where you want to be and where you're at now in terms of confidence. Okay, let me go to my question. So we got a 5, a -1, a 7. Okay, so clearly nothing above an 8. And I'm going to see. Okay, so if the average is around a 5 or a 4, that's interesting. And I want to kind of talk to you guys about why you feel it might be so low. Oh, you guys, a lot of you answered in the chat. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, Candor. A 5? Okay. Oh, Sophia Rapata. Hello. How are you doing? Okay, it seems like the general answer is a 5 for the most part. A 7 with the Felix. Thank you. Hey, Jen. 7 to 8 confidence. Okay. But for the most part, it seems like average was 5. So before I start actually sketching anything out, I do want to state that when I think of confidence and the way that we see ourselves and how we view ourselves, one, we have to be kinder to ourselves. I think the way that you talk to yourself is incredibly important, and especially all these books that I'm reading about self-improvement and how your mind works and how the brain functions. The more you tell yourself that you can't do something or I'm not good enough, the more that it will manifest itself in real life. Now, I'm not trying to like push, the secret type style of manifestation on you guys, but I think it is something to note that if you believe in yourself that you can do something, and if you can't do something, both are true. It's that quote that we always hear. And I want you to start being kinder to yourself. So I know I wrote down, where did I write it? Basically, I want you guys to every day before you even start drawing, be like, I got this. Today, I'm gonna kill it. I feel really good about what I'm gonna do today. And I think even just a little mental shift will go a long way. So I'm gonna start drawing this. And let's see, what was the next part? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna have my next question then. My next question, mind you, this Q&A function is new to me as well, so I'm just gonna use it so we can get comfortable using it, but I think you have to click it to answer the question specifically, and then it like pulls up a separate chat so that I can see your guys' answers. So my next question is, what are you currently stuck on? And I think this will help me kind of get a better idea of what feedback I can give to you guys to hopefully push you in a different direction. Okay, so as we're finding those, I'm going to start sketching here. Now, part of today's drawing, I'm not really caring about the results, and I'm just going to have fun drawing this little pumpkin creature. And I think that goes a long way. Oop, am I off the screen? Once again, returning to live stream, I'm going to have to get used to drawing again with a camera hovering above the drawing and with a mic inches from my face. But for the drawing today, yeah, it's just a happy pumpkin guy, and it's very reflective of the drawing that I did back in September that made me believe in myself again. And it's funny how we even need reminders to do what we love with more, not clarity, well, I guess clarity in a way, but more of like a I got this attitude. And actually, I should note that after Drawtober ended, weirdly, the vampire became my most liked image on social media, which was bizarre. But the thing that the thing that I got from doing the Drawtober series more than just the engagement was my sense of that belief in myself again. And I'm realizing how much I've missed it. Because since then, do I have some of the examples here? Oh, I do. Since then, I've done 4 tarot cards. Let me see, I'm going to lift this for a second. And I normally do like a tarot card a month, and these took way quicker, or these took me less time. And I think a lot of it, dealt with the fact that I went into the card being like, I got this. I'm going to prove to myself that I can do a tarot card in 3 days. And since then, I've been just going kind of nonstop on new drawings and new ideas, and it's just been very fulfilling. All right, we're going to kind of play with like a fun proportion today. Like I said, this drawing is more of just a fun reflection of what I believe confidence kind of looks like. Because, I should mention the idea of even this pumpkin guy is I want him holding a match that is lit, and he's running in the rain with a, not a backpack, but like he's carrying a bunch of matches on his back. And the idea is like you carry your own confidence. You decide if you're confident or not. And I like the idea that the rain kind of represents the world or other people's disbelief in you or doubt in you. So you have to be vulnerable. The idea behind this drawing was you have to be vulnerable to make a splash. And that's why it's in the rain, because the rain could put out his fire. But if you want to make a splash, you have to run in the rain. So I was kind of having a fun concept session yesterday thinking of this character. And that's what we're working with here. Can I switch between the chats? Oh, I can. Oh, nope, I can't. Okay, so when I have the questions pulled up. Oh, can I not see the normal chat then? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay. Like I said, I'm returning to this. It's going to take me a bit. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you choose the Q&A at the top of this chat if you want to answer the question I asked. And then after I get through a little bit of this, I'm going to open that Q&A and I'm going to kind of look at each one. Yes, Unique is saying it too. Enjoying the process instead of striving for a perfect artwork. I'm going to definitely talk about this later, but it's all about the process. If you're in it for the results or the end result, you're doing it for the wrong reason. What was my other note I wanted to talk about? Oh, yes. Okay. If you are currently frustrated in something, and that's why I brought up that question, there is a author that I like. His name's Ryan Holiday, and he wrote a book. I haven't read his most popular one, but I did read one called Ego is the Enemy, and that one was great. But the one he's most known for is The Obstacle is the Way. And the whole idea behind it is if you are currently frustrated with where you are at or what you are trying to create, that's actually a good sign. It shows you that you are frustrated because you know you have the potential to be further along or where you want to be. So his whole book, because I did read a Cliff Notes version of it, basically it says that if you see that there's an obstacle, that is where you should be heading directly head on. That is the path that is forged for you, and all you have to do is plow through. So like if you really want to do, let's say, I don't know, a short comic, but you feel like your anatomy is too weak, well, guess what? The obstacle of your anatomy is too weak is now your solution, because then, okay, take some life drawing study or sessions. You don't even have to leave your home. You could do studies at your desk on what you feel you're weak in, whether it's proportions, anatomy, whatever it is. So whenever I think about wherever I'm stuck at, I always think, okay, this is actually a good thing because it's showing me the way where I need to go forward. I kind of want to draw like oversized matchsticks too. There we go. And then what else did I write down here? Oh, there's a great short on, this is going to age me a little bit, but I think it's Vimeo, where it's called The Gap by Ira Glass. And it's just a short little speech in a cute artsy way, but it talks about how it's kind of like the obstacle is the way, but it visualizes it more as a metaphor of like, if you see an island or another area of land that you want to get to. So like if I feel I want to strengthen my hand drawing, or like right now I'm doing likeness studies because I want to just strengthen the skill of placing facial features better. You're seeing where you want to be, but there's a gap between you and there. So what the whole quote kind of represents is you have to build that bridge piece by piece to get from where you are to where you want to be. And oftentimes the distance between where you are and where you want to be is so much that even building the first step feels like it's not enough, or it doesn't actually get you anywhere. Because yes, looking at it in context, you need, let's say, 30 planks to actually build the bridge, get across. And yeah, if you build 25, technically you're still not where you want to be, but you haven't yet grasped that the building is actually what you are accomplishing. And then when you hit all 30 and you make it to the other side, yes, there is like a satisfaction, but really it was the building through there that is the actual goal. And because then as soon as you get to that next island, guess what? There's gonna be another one that you want to get to, and you're gonna have to once again build that bridge. So if you just get comfortable with building the bridges, that is really the win. That is the confidence that we're talking about. And oh God, what was the other? I think it was Atomic Habits that I read that talked about the ice cube effect, where let's say you are given an ice cube and your goal is to melt it. I forget the exact metaphor that they use or analogy, but it was the idea of you won't actually see progress until it hits that freezing point. So in America, I think it's 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on this, but if you're raising a degree every day, you're not going to see any change to the ice cube, similar to the bridge. But then one day, you're going to see the ice cube start to melt because you hit that degree. And the way they'd equate it to is, imagine every day if you start to do your hand studies or whatever you're doing, and then one day you notice, wow, I can actually draw a hand without really needing reference or heavy reference. And it just kind of comes naturally. Well, guess what? That skill set is now in your toolbox. You can pull that out whenever you want. Also, I have a tendency to ramble, so forgive me if it takes me some times to remember. I have to look up at the chat too. Annie Noodle says, I heard you're a guest artist at the Illustration Intensive this year. Congrats. Wish I could go. So many awesome people there, and hopefully I'll be back next year. Yes, I will be a guest mentor at, it's called Illustration Intensive. It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If any of you are interested, it's a week-long, kind of like a workshop of sorts. It's very work-focused. So you go there with an intention of, I'm going to finish a piece, and I basically work every day for 8 to 10 hours, and by the end of the week you should have a finished product. And then along the way there's some lectures, and you have all these Magic the Gathering artists and people like myself walking around, hopefully giving good advice. And I'm very excited because I haven't done a workshop since pre-COVID, and I really miss them. I actually really like doing this kind of public speaking. I know this is more like live stream, but I love helping other artists, and I feel like that's where my head is right now, where I want to be more of a mentor. I don't know, recently I apparently crossed the age line where I've been now mentioned as like Papa Von, or people see me as they call me at cons an art father. I'm like, okay, I didn't think I was that old, but apparently we're crossing that threshold. But even though the naming is kind of strange, I really thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? If these younger art kids see me as like a father figure in the art world, where, yeah, I could be the person just to tell them what you do matters. And I don't know if we hear that enough. So if you haven't heard this in a while, what you do matters. And your voice is something that is important to include for cultural relevance. I think about how many artists, if they felt like they weren't good enough or their opinion didn't matter, how many stories would we not have heard or been introduced to that may have touched our lives? And you never know when someone's story might so closely resemble what someone else is going through. And by you not sharing it with the world, they feel more isolated and disconnected from people in general. So I always think about, when we're creating art, we're kind of essentially, yeah, we're doing it for ourselves to some degree, but we're doing it to connect with other people. And I think when we get stuck on feeling self-doubt or burnt out or whatever it is, I oftentimes, especially even with my friend group, I'm like, I think sometimes it's just we have issue with other people. Like we're struggling, either we feel hurt or we feel society as a whole isn't relatable anymore, and we kind of go deeper into isolation. But I've seen, especially recently, like so many beautiful instances of people coming together or helping one another with like pure grace. And it reminds me of how amazing people are. And when I do art, it's because I want to give back to humanity. I feel so lucky to be able to, do drawing every day, that me giving back is like the least that I can do. But yeah, I'll stay on topic with confidence. I feel like we could have a whole nother stream about like why we do art in general. Daryl says, I love that bridge metaphor. I love problem solving and applying that to my art practice this year. It's already making a difference. I fully believe the best artists are the best problem solvers. Absolutely. Because I know maybe people don't like to equate a situation with art being a problem, but like, yeah, if you can't draw, like let's say you draw, what's a very standard cliche art thing? Oh, like when you draw a face and one eye doesn't match the other one, like it's too high or it's too big, whatever it is. Guess what? That's a problem. And now it is your job as the artist to figure out, how do I fix this? And I tell Josh all the time, I think he gets annoyed with me, but I say there's two types of people in the world, where you're either a problem presenter or you're a solution, or what is the other thing? Solution oriented. And I'm like, just don't be a problem presenter. If you notice that there's something that needs to be fixed, rather than just talking about what the problem is, focus on how can we fix this? What is the solution? And yes, I think this is not just applied to artists. I think this applies to like just people in general. And you'll notice the more that the more that you surround yourself with people that kind of just take any problem, not with grace necessarily, but with a level head and then a certainty of, okay, here's the problem presented to me. Let me start building an idea of how to fix it. If you can start applying that to art, man, I'm telling you, you will go far. Oh, that's right. Let me go back to my question. So what are you currently stuck on? I'm going to, how do I go to that? Oh, live chats, questions. Okay. So I'm going to look at these one by one. Joe the Wizard, anatomy. It never seems to get better no matter how much or how I practice. So this is a good point, and it's one that I brought up a lot when I was teaching with CG Cookie. And it is that when you are studying or when you're doing practice, you also have to be actively aware, or you have to have kind of a critical eye of what you're doing. Because often when we're doing our studies, let me refocus this also too. I'm going to lift it so you can see more of the drawing. So when you're doing studies, oftentimes, let's help with the shadow. That might help with the shadow too. So when you're doing your studies, if you're just kind of rinse, wash, repeating, you're not actively engaged with what you're studying, oftentimes you're not picking up what it is you are trying to actually study. So if you're drawing hands, let's say you want to get better at drawing hands, but you're not actively thinking about what exactly am I trying to improve with drawing these hands? Well, then you're just going to be basically copying the methods that you're already used to and you're familiar with, and you're not really learning from it. So whenever I do my studies, like right now I'm doing the likeness ones, I'm very aware of, okay, how am I placing the nose here? Am I really looking at how the distance between the mouth and the bottom of the nose looks? Or am I just going back into and reverting into how I normally draw faces? And it's something that can be a little difficult teaching yourself how to learn, but that is something I maybe want to push you is if you feel like you're drawing a lot of anatomy but not getting better at it, I would either develop more of a critical eye and be like, okay, why does this arm look wonky? Why did the leg muscles not look right? And then really, when you're doing your next study of that specific subject matter, really tackle that with intention. Elena says, taking more stylized risks and doing more experimenting. Yeah, and I think what's funny about that is it's just kind of allowing yourself to do it. It's not even really much of a problem. It's just giving yourself permission. Like today, I'm going to do a stylized drawing. It's not going to be for Instagram. It's not going to be for anyone except for myself. Unless if I really like it, maybe I'll share it. But today, I just really want to try something different. And I think you have the ability to give yourself that permission. Jens, I'm currently stuck drawing faces and anatomy. I don't hate it, but I miss when I actually felt inspired to draw weird creatures with a whimsy vibe. Okay, this one's a little more interesting because you can sense internally that you're being pulled into wanting to draw something else. That's not a bad thing because oftentimes, especially if we're doing freelance or contract work where, there are going to be times where we have to draw something we might not necessarily want to draw. I know I've definitely been in a position where I've had to do book covers and it was not something I wanted to draw, but you kind of have to just suck it up and do it. Weirdly, this is, I think, back when I was at CG Cookie, I did draw guns and robots and a sci-fi gun. Literally all three things I would rather never draw ever again. But in the process of doing that, I actually learned a lot about hard surface texture and how to render metal with more accuracy. And now when I pull back into, my fantasy nonsense that I like to draw, I notice that whenever a metallic thing appears in the drawing, I feel much more capable of just attacking it and knowing how that metal should reflect because of the subject matter that I didn't want to draw. So that was a good lesson in my early 20s that no matter what task you're given, you can usually learn something from it. And oftentimes we don't learn a lot from our comfort zone drawings because we are kind of rinse, wash, repeating what we already know. So now when I tackle something that I'm not super familiar with, I take it with a grain of salt that, yeah, I might not be good at it, but going back to what Mel Robbins said about the definition of confidence, it's the willingness to try. And that confidence is an action. So like when I did my haunted ghost house a couple years for Drawtober, I didn't know how to do interiors. I'm not an environment artist by nature. And I had to kind of teach myself. And yeah, it was a struggle at first. And it will be a little uncomfortable, especially when you feel like you have a perception of what you should be capable of doing. I think the worst thing an artist can do to themselves is create a status in their head of, I have this level of expectation that people are expecting me to perform at. And yes, that is probably true to a certain degree, but honestly, you are setting those expectations in your head. You are your own limiting belief, if that makes sense. So now when I think about, like, what am I drawing recently that I'm not comfortable with? I did the zombie drawing. And I rarely draw zombies. Oh, here it is. And I never really draw gravestones. And then I went into this drawing being like, all right, I'm just going to have fun with it. I'm going to create proportions or lengths that are a little off kilter. They're not like full realism. And I had a lot of fun doing this. And then it just kind of became more of a playful nature. Because I didn't really care about the results as much, it allowed me to be more carefree with the decision making. And I'm realizing that when I'm more carefree in a drawing, usually the better the results are. Because then I'm letting my hand be a little more, I guess this is my sign for like whimsy, or more of like, you're letting those gesture lines come through more. Because oftentimes I think I can get really strict with my line making and becomes more rigid. And that only hurts the end result. Actually, I might make him a little more triangle eyes instead of pure circles. I really wanted to do a pumpkin head that was, sorry if I also jump from subject matter to subject matter as I talk, but that's just the way I am. I really want to do a pumpkin head where he was lifting his own head and then he was like holding a candle under his head, and the whole idea is like you light your own fire kind of a deal. But I couldn't get it to work right in my thumbnail, and the more that I drew it, I kind of liked him carrying a match and kind of running through the rain better anyways. What's next? Tijal, why aren't iPhone chargers called apple juice? Oh, is that what you struggle with recently? You should write them. That's actually a pretty good idea. Imogen says, I'm currently frustrated because I feel like I'm starting up again in adulthood, and I look at the time lost if I had kept it at it as a teenager. Nope. We're throwing that right out the window. You are on the right path right now. Maybe what you needed to learn in life and what you went through led to this decision to take you back into the art world. But what experience you gained through that time, it may not have been artistically driven, but it made you who you are today. And if who you are today wants to get into the art world, that's beautiful. I really want to stop this idea that there's like, it's too late to start. It's never too late. And honestly, the mindset that you're in right now of like wanting to create art, keep that, but throw away the idea of like, oh, I wish I would have had. Nope. We're throwing regrets out the window. There's no reason to waste your energy or time thinking about it. And I know so many artists that did start late and they are doing very well. So don't feel like you are in this boat alone. You are here with all of us, with me. I am telling you, you got this. And what I really wanted to kind of get across in the stream is that your mindset is so much more important than what you create on the paper or on the tablet or whatever subject matter you work in. Your mindset is the most valuable thing you have. And if it is full of doubt, if it's a lot of negative self-talk, that's going to reflect in the work, or it's going to inhibit you from actually working. But if you are in a positive mindset and you're surrounded by people that are encouraging and you feel that what you're doing actually has purpose and value, that's where you'll start to see your work to like really thrive. And that's something that's actually my fifth point I want to get to, but we'll come back to that because I think who you surround yourself with is very important. Barbara, I'm also wondering if my work is interesting for people wanting to buy it. I don't follow particular trends and I don't do fan art. I just draw what I want, but is that enough? Sorry I asked this one in chat, but I also struggle with color because it's scary to me. Also, what kind of mediums to use for that feels right for me? Okay, there's two questions here then. You're wondering if your work is interesting for people to want to buy it. So my question back to you would be, what would be your goal? If your goal is to live financially independently of whatever career path that maybe you're currently in, or you want art to be like your main and only thing, then yeah, that will definitely come to your mind. But I think it's good to not cater to anyone but yourself, specifically your younger self. I keep a picture of myself when I was 5 on my desk, and I keep reminding myself that everything I do is for him. I want to make art that would make him proud or help him with his journey, especially as like kind of a very quiet gay kid. I want to give him art that will help him on his journey forward. And if you really cater to what you want to create, I promise you'll find your audience. And you don't have to worry so much of like, will people want to buy this? Because if you're really engaged and you're authentic with what you're creating for your younger self, you will find an audience that will relate to it, and it'll just make some of the most beautiful connections. I feel like I've made such wonderful connections with people and strangers at cons, heck, even through this Discord, and it's just been this beautiful thing. But obviously, money is a topic, and I want to do a stream specifically just on if you are thinking purely on profit. But I think for now, I do want to give the advice that, well, one, you're an amazing artist, Barbara. Your art is so good. You have such a good execution with value and placement that I wouldn't worry about that. I think for you, it's just putting yourself out there more. So like doing more conventions, putting your work in a position where it can be bought. I think we can't rely on online sources like we used to, the same, like Etsy. And I know I talk to Dustin or Inkwell Illustrations on YouTube all the time about this, but there are a lot of opportunities online. But honestly, in-person opportunities are so great for building that connection that I would encourage you to do more of that. And you don't have to do fan art. If you want to do fan art, that's great, but you don't have to. I think there's a difference. And then your second question is color. I get it. I'm a traditional pencil artist, just like you. If you want to do color, give yourself permission to do that. What medium speaks to you? Does watercolor, does oil, does gouache? And just try it. Like I've been playing with stained glass. I don't think I have it up here with me. I think it's downstairs. But I have a piece that's almost finished, and it's just like a drawing hand. And I want to keep it in this room because stained glass has always interested me. And then one day my friend was like, why don't we just do it? And I think sometimes it's literally just giving yourself permission just to do it, just to go for it. And not to like harp on pencil, because obviously I'm a pencil artist, I love pencil. But yes, I think people are generally more attracted to color, but that doesn't mean that you should stop doing, traditional pencil work if this is your love. I think I've said this so many times, but in my early days of doing conventions, I would hear people be like, when are you going to finish this? When are you going to color it? There was a lot of weird comments I would get about my pencil work being like an unfinished medium. Weirdly, that has shifted almost to the other end of the spectrum with the rise of AI. Now, any traditional medium is seen as like a craftsman's tool, which has been kind of crazy because like I didn't change anything. It's a culture shift and perception that changed. So yes, you can definitely make a career out of doing pencil. Okay, I'm going to end this question then. Go back to the main chat here. Daryl says, I love that bridge metaphor. I love problem solving, and applying that to my art practice this year is already making a difference. Yeah, I love that idea of bridging the gap. And there's another artist, his name's Justin Gerard. He's one of my favorite artists ever. He is so good. I actually think he could be my favorite digital artist. But he talks about this all the time, where not only your goals, but when you create art, the way that he describes it is, imagine you are an island and another person is another island. Art is a third island that you two can travel on a boat together and spend some time together for a little bit before going back to your own islands. And he's like, the more that art exists that can bridge or that can create these intersections of like upbringing, experience, whatever it might be, it's a beautiful thing, because then we feel more connected to the greater humanity. And not to get like too philosophical, but I really do believe art is like a reflection of like all of us in this together. And when you see a piece of art that really touches you or connects with something deeper within you, I don't know about you guys, but it definitely makes me feel seen and less, isolated. It makes me feel like I am not in this alone. This other person has experienced a similar emotion or situation that they captured so beautifully, either in an art piece or in writing or a TV show. Josh and I just recently watched the Skam Norway show from 10 years ago. I have never felt more seen in my life than the leads of Isak and Evan, and the way they depicted what it meant to be two gay men without it being like in your face flamboyant. And it really touches you in a way where it's, I don't know, I could go on about this, and the more I talk about it, I'm sure I could even start crying, because I have been hypersensitive the last few months. Not in like a embarrassing way of like, oh, you know, I'm just such a wreck. It's more of like, God, I love people. I love humanity so much. And Josh will catch me. Even last night, I was watching Instagram videos of this guy who goes around Canada and helps people out that really need it. And it really touches me. And I have such a belief in humanity that's another reason I think I've gotten so back into the arts so strongly and so hard. I'm like producing more art than I ever have since like, I don't know, last 10 years. And I think part of it is because I feel this want to give back to humanity. I just love people. But like a good example, and then I'll get back on topic, is there was an Instagram video of someone who was racing on Mario Karts, and he was racing a Ghost Rider. Because if you don't know, you can basically re-race your old time trial records, but it's like a ghost version of yourself. And he was saying that it was actually his brother's record that he was racing against, but his brother passed away. And this is like a way for him to still feel like he can connect with his brother. Oh my God, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it. But before he crosses the finish line, he stops so that his brother can beat him. So that way he can keep replaying it and, you know, race his brother again in the future. And I'm just, like I said, very sensitive at this moment. Literally, I feel like a pin drop can make me cry if I hear like a story where it reminds me of why I love humanity so much and how precious and beautiful everything is. Yeah, there's a lot of ugliness too, but God, there is so much beauty that doesn't get acknowledged or showcased as much. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of my emotional state. I feel very strong, but I think it's also admitting to myself, yeah, I am sensitive. I do feel things intensely, and I'm no longer going to like shy away from that or pretend it doesn't. When I get happy, I get really happy, and I'm like, I'm in the moment. And then when I'm sad, I get, you know, I'm in it. I'm listening to my Lana Del Rey, you know? Kieran. Hey, Kieran. Josh, for you who may not know this, Kieran was the Australian friend that I flew over to hang out with. Oh my gosh. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I keep seeing pictures of your family on Instagram. It looks amazing. Kieran, you're awesome. I actually still have the ping pong ball you gave me. I think it says, where is it? It's on the bottom of the shelf over there, but I think it says, good one, USA, because it was USA versus Australia. So yes. Okay. This leads into, let's see, where's my next question on my notes here? Oh, okay. That's what I want to talk about. You know what? I'm going to start shading this pumpkin head as I'm doing this, because I realized we are almost an hour in and I haven't even done any shading yet. If I'm going to get back into streaming, I got to get better with time management, though. You know what? I'm switching into an HB. I feel pretty good about how our little guy's looking right here. So I'm just going to start going darker. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't realize this. I don't work with sharp pencils. I actually prefer working with duller pencils. Okay. So I'm going to outline first and then kind of add my values in after. And if I do this right, I should be working a little quicker. But as a lot of you know, and especially Josh and Tijal and those who have known me for a long time, I do ramble. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of talking happening. Okay, so the next topic I wanted to talk about, and then I'll raise the question up again, is embracing being confident. Now, I personally believe that we're taught through culture that it is like shameful to be confident because it blurs into arrogance so easily. And I think this is something that I want to try to take apart and restructure, because I think we should be aware of when we are genuinely confident in something. Like, I know that drawing a little pumpkin creature like this is not only in my wheelhouse, but I've done this at least 12, 15 times at this point, where I feel very confident drawing a pumpkin head, drawing the texture of a pumpkin, the shape language, the body positioning. Um, a lot of these things that I don't feel shameful, or I don't feel like it bridges into arrogance for me being like, yeah, I feel confident that I can draw a pumpkin creature holding a match, running in the rain. And I think there are times where we need to acknowledge what we actually feel confident in, because like I said, I think our brains are so malleable, and this is done by research as well, is how we treat ourselves or what we tell ourselves can be such a powerful thing that will, I don't want to use buzzwords, but yeah, manifest itself in reality. Where yeah, if you are like, yeah, you know what, I feel really good about being able to draw this, or like whenever, let's say you really like drawing hands and you do a new drawing with a figure where the hands are very prominent, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to tackle those hands because I know I'm going to kill it. So here's my next question for you guys. I'm going to change this. All right, Q&A. What is your greatest art skill you're proud of? And I'm going to put in parentheses, no need to be humble. And I genuinely want to hear what you believe you are the most proud of and why. There we go. Okay. So that is my new question for you guys. So I guess to start it off, I feel really confident in drawing pumpkin heads. I really like Halloween. I've loved Halloween since I was a kid. I've been drawing pumpkins all my life. So the idea of having to draw a pumpkin, I'm like, I got this. Give it to me. I got it. And I don't think we should be carrying shame in that. Now, I will say, yes, when does it bridge, or when does it cross the line into arrogance? Because I think that is important to talk about as well. I'm telling you right now, at least the way that I perceive it, the line between confidence and arrogance is actually really thick. It is not a thin line that one can like easily teeter one way or the other. It's a pretty thick line. And if you're trying to be arrogant, you have to like put effort into crossing the line. And how can you tell if someone's being confident or arrogant? It's a feeling. You can always tell. Does it feel like they're saying it because they're bragging and it has more of like this insecure undertone? Or does it feel like, yeah, you know what, they are being confident the way that they're saying this? And what was the other thing? I wrote down as a bullet point that you need to embrace being confident, because placebos are real. And the more you tell your brain something, the more you reinforce it to be true. And I know I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm going to keep mentioning it throughout the stream because I believe in it so much. You are an amazing artist, and you need to be nicer to yourself. I think that's something we need to hear more of. And I realized, not only through the books I've been reading, but in who I've been surrounding myself with lately, that yeah, sometimes having someone just be like a little hype man for you, it feels really nice. But then you know what? You also have to be it back. So you can't just like receive all the praise from those around you and just absorb it. No. You also have to pass it along. And also, for those of you who are watching, I genuinely want you to answer, what is your greatest art skill that you are proud of? Because I noticed no one wants to answer this one, but I think it's because it comes across as bragging. I think we're often scared to share what we believe we're confident in. And if you don't know where to answer it, basically you have to go into I think it says Q&A question. Like I said, we're new to this. We're going to get comfortable with this. But yes. And I'm going to work a little faster, as I always tell myself I will on streams and then never do. Because if we're going to be talking about confidence, I might as well be confident in the drawing I'm working on while talking about confidence. And oftentimes, I notice too, when my mark making is more confident, it will reflect in the mark making itself. You'll feel it. I can always tell when a drawing I'm a little more cautious in versus a drawing I'm just like blazing through like a bulldozer. And I feel so good about, either the values that I'm adding or the way that I'm adding it. And of course, I gotta do striped pajamas. I feel like it's quintessentially the epitome of Halloween in my mind, like a Halloween mascot character. Empathy is a superpower. You know, I mean, yes, I love that sentiment, but I also think empathy is just so easy. It should be like commonplace and common sense. But man, you are right where it feels, if that's how it feels, that's crazy because it should be so commonplace. And that's one of the other reasons I wanted to start doing these live streams again, is because I think we need, more encouragement of artists just in general. And I feel like I'm in that mind space right now where I can just be like, you got this. You're amazing. Keep going. You're on the right path. Because even within my own friend group, there are a few people who, if they can just be told that someone believes in them, it'll make such a difference. And I think I've now seen it enough times and actually become a reality. I'm like, oh my God, this needs to be like all the time. We need to be encouraging people to follow their dreams all the time. And it takes literally nothing to be kind to someone else or to show empathy. And there's this great quote from Scam that actually now I hang up right here behind me. And the quote reads, "Everyone you meeting is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind always." And I love that sentiment. And especially as, someone that wants to be like a mentor for artists, I know how sensitive we can all be. And I know how, even the slightest disapproval or, someone writes a really horrible comment about your work on social media or whatever it is, and just how devastating that can feel in the moment. Thankfully, I'm now in my mid-30s, and I could care less what other people think about that kind of stuff, but I care a lot about what those around me think and how I think about myself. I care a lot. So yeah, I get comments a lot that I don't want to repeat here on the stream, but I guess it's in the vein of basically this is too gay, or your art is, I don't know a nicer way to phrase it, but we'll just keep it at it's too feminine, it's too, it's not their taste, we'll say. And it doesn't bother anymore. And if anything, I respond back with like a clever little, pun or something, or I'll like throw something back at them in like a kind way, just to let them know, like, I don't care. Like, I know I draw my men more feminine looking or more sensitive. I know my art isn't for everyone. It's not supposed to be for everyone. Because you know what? If my 5-year-old self likes it, or if I think that that's what he would want, or if my teenage self, who was still in the closet and still struggling with his sexuality, if that's what he needed, well, guess what? That's who this art is for. It's not for you. And it's just a good reminder, because I feel now so confident going into what I want to create. And that's why once this tarot deck is done, I'm going to really go full force into this book. I've been writing in my spare time. I've been coming up with ideas. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be for my younger self. And I don't care if it gets bad reviews online. I don't care if not everyone likes it, or my art friends secretly think it could have been better. I genuinely don't care. And I want to pass along kind of a little bit of that mindset to you guys, where, yeah, if you're proud of what you're making, who cares what other people think? All right, let me see what you guys wrote for the question. I swear, if there's not a lot of these. Oh, good. Gasper's feeding time. You'll hear his food dispense. I promise I don't have like a robot doing weird things behind me. Oh, he's too nervous to come in because he knows I'm streaming. Otherwise, he usually attacks that food ball like right away. Okay. Eunuch, nothing I haven't drawn in years. Nope. We're not accepting that as an answer. You got to think of something. Joe the Wizard, line control. I love copying Dore engravings with my pen. He's Gustav is honestly one of my favorite artists that I just discovered like last year. So good. And I think that's awesome. If you love doing line control and you're good at it, bravo. That is definitely a skill set. Digital, befriending people I like. Oh, that's cute. I think you're a friendly person in general, but I also want you to answer the art one. I'm curious for you, especially Digital, because I've known you so long. I'm curious, what do you think is your greatest strength as an artist? Shais, I believe is your name. Great ideas. You know what? I love that too. It's not always about the execution. I think a lot of the times being able to sit in your thoughts and think of an idea or conceptualize what you want to create is such a powerful tool that I want to embrace that more. I'm not the biggest fan of Disney remakes or sequels, any of those in general, but I will say I did watch Inside Out 2 when we were on our way to Japan, and there is a scene where the main like emotion that's introduced is anxiety, and the thing that I really liked is in Riley's brain there was an imagination department, and it used to like create all these fun stories and what Riley wanted to do, blah blah blah, and you now Joy like entered into the imagination department, and it's anxiety on this big screen and asking everyone, I need to create future predicaments that could avoid Riley being in situations that would be hurtful to us as like a net, like it would be a net negative experience. So let's use our imagination to think about ways to avoid it or to like not go into that. And I'm like, oh my God, what a great metaphor of anxiety in our teenage years takes over our imagination department, where we're no longer fighting dragons in the backyard, but instead we're thinking about, oh, what does this girl think of me because I said something behind her back and I think it might get to her. Like, your imagination does create all these, situations for you because it's being hijacked. Anxiety has hijacked your imagination. So that was honestly my favorite part of the film. I think overall it was a fine film, but I think that alone was worth the watch. So I love that you said great ideas, because that means you're still in tune with your imagination in a way that's not just correlating to like real life scenarios. Elena says, I'm very good at freehanding detailed line art from reference. That is a very difficult skill set. Good for you. Yeah, I sort of feel in that same boat. I actually do like doing even where are they? I've been doing these daily SCOM studies, and yeah, I kind of just freehand the proportions. I don't do it as gestural lines as I know I should, quote unquote should. But I agree with you that I do like approaching art that way too. Jen says, random lines and shapes. My creative process generating something strange and weird. My ability to repurpose a shape. If, say, I pull an eraser over an old drawing and use the old lines to make something. Oh, I love that. It sounds like you are very much in tune with your creativity, and you allow intuition to take over as you draw. Never lose that. That's great. Barbara says, I think I'm confident in drawing beautiful, elegant ladies, both figures as faces, and I'm proud of my shading skills. Absolutely you should be. Your drawings are incredible. And I think you handle value transitions very, very well. Agreed. Daryl, I think my greatest art skill is my ability to render lighting/values. Comes in handy with my job as a photographer. Secondly, I'd say my concepts, ideas, I tend to make unique creative connections. Yeah, I like that a lot of you are saying your ideas are like the way you conceptualize. And if you think your greatest ability is to render lighting, that is definitely a skill set that can translate into any style you want to go into. That's why I do believe every artist should have some kind of life drawing training in their wheelhouse, because I think, yeah, if you learn how to render the four basic, forms of what a sphere, cube, cylinder, cone, you can basically translate that into any thing that you draw. So like this character, obviously the head, sphere, his arms, cylinders, actually just a lot of cylinders and spheres. I guess the shoes would be kind of sharp edge here, depending on how crazy we get with the shoe. But yeah, so that's a great skill set to have. Tijal, okay, I read the question wrong with my previous reply. I didn't see it needed to be art related. I'm most proud of my improvement I've made over the year. It drives me that I can get there. Tijal, you're already there. I don't know what you're saying. You're already there. I think it's just you want to see maybe more, but you're already there. And I think improvement is something to be proud of. I, actually, now I'm thinking out loud, maybe we should do a stream where a lot of us submit, and then I could put them up on the screen, like where we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and today. And it would just be kind of like a fun thing to see a bunch of artists who go through that. You know what? I'll think of that, and I think that might be a future stream idea. Awa Shofstar says, I can draw clean, long, straight lines. That is definitely a skill. Having a steady hand, maybe you should be a surgeon. Because I feel like I have a pretty steady hand too. And I don't tell people when it comes to like everyday life, because I'm really good at painting rooms. I can edge the ceiling with paint very cleanly without tape, but I'm not going to tell anyone because I hate doing it. But I'm very good at it. But I'm not going to tell anyone, because then I'm going to be helping everyone, do the cutting part in the painting process, which I can't stand. Houdini Bob, shading. Simple, clean, you know it. Shading. Good for you. And then Tijl said, one more thing. If I have to choose an actual subject matter, I'm most proud of my flowy, smoky hair strand things that I draw in pretty much all my pieces. I really like where I'm at with those. I love flow. And this is a great thing where you start to look at your art and what you create and like, what do I gravitate towards? Why does this interest me? And I think the more that you lean into it, the more that you'll see like the art that best represents you will just emerge. So I would say, yeah, Tijl, keep leaning into that. Oh, wait, we got two more. Kieran says, imagination is my strongest skill and what I'm most confident in. Clear, vivid thoughts. It's extremely frustrating to not be able to translate that to a medium of any sort, which breaks my confidence. I'm telling you, this goes back to what we were talking about the bridge. You are confident, Kieran. And I think it's a frustration that we all deal with, and we all have to like lay one plank at a time. Actually, there was another quote. Hold on, let me open my notes, because I was watching this documentary and I really liked what this person said about confidence. It's about endurance more so than confidence. And it said, this guy was talking about how to really make it in whatever career you want to go into, you have to have endurance. And his quote was, you have to enjoy shooting hoops in the park by yourself before you'll ever get to play in front of people. And I think about that with art, and I correlate it to a lot of the times when we're doing art, we're by ourselves. We're just in our room, and you kind of have to take the time and dedicate it to, just putting in the hours, putting in the work. But the real sentiment behind it, now that I'm thinking about it as well, is you should be enjoying it to a degree. Like, there'll be times where it'll suck. Like, even when I'm doing this drawing, it's not going to be the most fun probably to do every match head when I'm drawing this area. But then there'll be other areas, like I really love doing shading texture on striped pajamas. That's why a lot of my pumpkin creatures have that. So I know that this will be more of a fun area. And I think that's kind of art in general, where you'll have areas that balance each other out. Like there'll be a lot of fun areas, and there'll be areas where you're like, okay, I'll just get through this. And I think for you, it's just taking the time. And I know it's hard because you have a job and you have kids now, but that doesn't mean you can still do art, maybe not as like a financial income, but just as like a hobby and just something to express yourself through, a different medium. And if you're not where you want to be in like a skill level, it's just time. I think there's literally no difference between me, artists that are much better than me, anyone watching this, or anyone just starting out. It's just time and putting in the energy. And plus, Kieran, you're an awesome person. If you really wanted to do something, you could. Unique says, I've been thinking, but years long block doesn't allow for a lot of confidence. Okay. We got to stop with that mindset though. And I don't want to be like the bad guy, but I do want to break this level of thought and this pattern of thought, and especially how you see yourself. You are confident. I think everyone is confident deep down. And like I mentioned earlier, confidence is action, the way that Mel Robbins describes it. So it's a willingness to try it. So just try, and you may surprise yourself. Okay. I'm going to close this question up. Let's get back to the main chat, huh? Oh boy, there's been a lot of comments. Okay. Let me answer maybe a couple of these. Daryl, you got me tearing up with these stories. Yeah, I was watching these ones yesterday. It was this Mexican guy who has liver and it was another type of cancer. Oh, hi, Casper. Also, everyone, welcome, Casper. You want me to open the window for you, baby boy? All right. And he was at a Goodwill, and this YouTuber or this Instagram influencer, I guess, I don't know what to call him, stopped him and asked, I will either give you $500 or I'll give you $5,000 to hand out to other people in this Goodwill. And you could tell he was getting really emotionally teared up. And he's like, I'll take the $5,000 and I want to hand it out to other people. And at the time, you don't know what he's going through or what the struggle is. And then he hands out the $500 to these people who they all start crying because, you know, they were in really difficult situations. And then this Instagrammer guy meets up with him the next day. And I don't know how they arranged it, but then he was like, hey, listen, I put your story up on this GoFundMe type website yesterday after meeting you, and I just want you to come with me. And he brings them into a parking lot, and in the parking lot is a car because this guy's been out of work because he can't travel because he doesn't have a car, but he has, I think, 3 kids. He has 2 cancers, and he's like, his wife is trying to do all the work for him because he's unable to work right now. It was a really bad story. And then he gave him the car. He started crying. And then in the trunk of the car was 50 grand. This one was 100 grand. And you could just feel how much that has affected that man's life and how it's going to change it henceforth. And then you hear about how his mom also has cancer and she has been struggling paying the medical bill so she doesn't get the treatment anymore, and how he can finally help her now. It was, like I said, I could literally cry at a story like that so quickly, and I allow myself to. I used to be like, no, you got to hold it in. But I'm like, nope, we're gonna just fully lean in. We're gonna be emotional. We're gonna just let that feeling hit you and hit hard. All right, let's see here. Let me actually pick a question I can talk and draw in. See how I'm coming back to streaming again. I gotta remember I have to talk and draw. Andrew says, what would your advice be on when home renovations, like you can't set up your office yet in any room yet, get between you and art time? I feel like making art is my muse or significant other. Oh, I've definitely felt that. Before I met Josh, I became kind of notorious for sleeping. I would like draw on the bed, and then when I get too tired, I would like place the drawing next to me. So it would be a joke that I would like sleep with my drawings because that was my significant other. So if you're going through home renovations, I always see it as make a space for yourself in your room, or literally take yourself out of the chaos environment and go to a coffee shop, go to a bookstore, go somewhere where you won't be distracted by, I know like when we were getting our house, some of the renovations on the outside, it was very noisy. So I would either leave the house and go to a coffee shop, or would put on my headphones and kind of put the music on a little higher than I normally would so that I could just be like in my zone. So I think I would ask for you to be more proactive in either making space in what you can control or literally leaving the situation and finding somewhere nearby that you can have more of a peace of mind. Oh yes, and also if any of you have any questions, just please put at vonnart, because as I go up and down between the drawing and the comments, that's what I look for. So I know you're directly asking me a question. Okay. Let's get into this drawing a bit more. Okay, I'm looking at my notes for my next topic, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I know if I start talking about that, I'll get distracted from the drawing. So let me just get a little bit more progress on this down so that I can move on more confidently. There was also this other book that I read, The Courage to be Disliked. And I know it's kind of a hot take book for a lot of people. I really liked it. But something that I did like was it talks about how you have to be okay with being the villain in other people's story. where a lot of the book does talk about like what does it mean to have the courage to be disliked, and it's the idea that you shouldn't put yourself in positions where you're wanting to be liked by others. If you are being yourself and someone doesn't like who that is, either you're too loud or the stories you tell are too much for them or whatever it is, that's okay. You don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. And I think so often we're trying to be so accommodating to everyone around us that we kind of lose ourselves in the process. And I know this is something I talk with Josh quite a bit, because the way that he was raised, it was very much the idea of being perceived is such a scary one for him that he would rather like be a better host or someone that is a good person than to be himself. Not to say that he's a bad person, but it's the idea that I cannot be perceived as anything but good. That's a scary mindset to be in, because then you're not allowing yourself to joke or to engage in conversation the way you would want to, because you're afraid that people will judge you. And it might not even be for not even for hot take issues like political or religious reasons. It could just be, you want to share a story, but you're nervous because you're afraid that people will laugh at you or they won't find it a good story. So you'll feel like you're bumming people out or you're boring them. But then by doing that, you're never actually sharing yourself. And then you just kind of isolate a lot, and it might be hard for you to connect with people. And I think a lot of what moving forward and with these streams and in my life, I want to just build those connections with other people. It doesn't mean we have to be the closest of friends or, we're texting each other every day, but it's kind of a way to be like, hey, I hear you, I see you, your story is important, and I want to hear more about it. That kind of a thing. Cindy Quill says, I'll also throw in renting spaces at your local library if they offer it. Cafes are sometimes too noisy for me. That is true. We have a really good library here in Wisconsin, and I go to it a lot. I'm one of those people that still rent movies from the library. I just love renting like 10 to 15 of them and just having just like a backlog of movies wherever I want to draw in the front room and just watch a new movie. I have the ability to do that. And I think the library sometimes gives me a break from routine. And I think we need that as well. Sometimes shifting what's familiar to like get our brain into, okay, this is a new experience. We're surrounded by people we don't know. We're no longer in our house in our pajamas for, second, third day in a row. I think that's why we've been going to the gym. And I've been really enjoying the gym experience because it just gives me a moment outside of the familiar routine of work and what we have to do in the house and taking care of the cats, whatever, and allows me to just sit in like what activity, whatever physical movement I'm in at the gym, and just think about my day, what I want to get done, what new ideas I want to explore. So that has been very fulfilling. So yeah, change up your scenery. Hi, Casper. Do you want to say something? Do you have something to say? No? I'm so afraid he's going to mess up the microphone and phone situation here. Jen says, my new job doesn't allow me access to writing or doodling. Ooh, don't step on the keyboard. Oh, we're good. And the break is rather short. So how do you make the best use of drawing time if you have at best an hour to improve? I mean, an hour is a lot. I used to do 30-minute warm-up drawings before I would start my day, and I would set a timer. I think, though, when you do have limited time, I don't mean to sound like I'm trivializing that you only have an hour, but I think it's if you only have a certain amount of time in your day, set a timer for yourself for do like a half hour and just go. I really do believe that sometimes we get into I call it autopilot mode, where when I'm drawing, I'm not thinking about the actions I'm doing or actually making significant progress in the drawing. I'm just kind of noodling. I'm just kind of adding values that might already kind of be there, but I'm making them slightly darker. So I think when you have a limited amount of time, weirdly, I actually think I move much faster, and I can capture things in a way that I might not be able to if I had all the time in the world. So like I said, I'm not trying to trivialize it, but I think being intentional with, okay, if I have an hour, I'm going to really just go with it. Do I think it's then maybe the best idea to do like 5-foot very intricate drawing? Probably not. I don't think that maybe should be your goal at the time. I mean, if it is, don't let me stop you. But yeah, maybe picturing something that is a little more doable in an hour that you can, tackle and be proud of. I think that might be a better goal. Amy says, what tips do you have in regards to getting better at anatomy and figure drawing? And I've learned from the book, The 4 Agreements, that when people don't like me, that's on them, not me. It's about their faulty perception of me. Yeah, okay, so 2 things. Tips on anatomy and figure drawing. Definitely just go to life drawing sessions. I tell Josh all the time, whenever I want to get better at doing anatomy, I go to life drawing sessions. And then when I'm at the life drawing sessions, I try to challenge myself. Like one time I brought colored pencils and I was only able to do colored pencils. Because I think the shift in mediums made me shift the way my brain saw the way I was capturing the form. Or I'll go into a life drawing session where I'm very specific and intentional of what I'm tackling. So it'll often be like the neck area or the legs, and really capturing the muscle nuances and the shifts between how the muscle looks when it's tense versus relaxed, like that kind of thing. But then obviously, keep drawing more and more. I know that's kind of like the lame answer of like, you just got to draw more, but like there is some truth to it. But I would say to build upon that, be intentional with it. So when you go to a life drawing session, be intentional. And then the second one is The 4 Agreements, which is also one of my top 5 favorite books of all time, which I love. I think it's such an hour-and-a-half easy read for anyone. I recommend that book to everyone. And yes, when people don't like me, that's on them, not me. It's about their faulty perception of me. Or I'll even go a step further. It could be a very accurate perception of myself. Like, I'm a very chatty person when I'm in group settings, and I love talking to people. Someone might not like me because of that, and that's okay. Like, I'm just not their cup of tea. And I agree that, like, that's on them. I'm not going to change who I am just to accommodate what they like in other people. And especially if I'm not being malicious in nature in any way, then I just know that about myself. Yeah, I get that, yeah, maybe not everyone will like me, but that's okay. I don't need to be liked by everyone. Also, that book, I had Josh read it too, because essentially the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, so never lie. If you say you're going to do something, do it, that kind of mentality. The second one is don't make assumptions, which is by far the hardest one and the one that people struggle with the most. But like, if someone doesn't text you back right away, it doesn't mean that they hate you. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be your friend anymore. It could mean that. We don't want to deny the complete possibility of it, but most likely they're going through something that, yeah, they weren't able to answer back right away. So don't assume the worst, or don't assume in general, because the book also talks about you shouldn't have positive assumptions either. And that leads into the third agreement, which is don't take things personally. And this is also a really hard one for people because, when someone says something negative about us, it's, of course, you're going to see that as a reflection of yourself. And how do you not feel some kind of way when someone speaks poorly of you? But this book also challenges you to not take compliments to heart either. And the whole reasoning and example of that is, if someone tells you that you're pretty, then it creates this level of, okay, I am pretty based on this person's perception of me. And the more that you slowly allow other people's perception of you to take over, it's no longer that you might feel pretty about yourself. It's, I have to meet the standard other people have for me. Obviously, that doesn't mean that anyone that compliments you, it's like you have to like analyze it right away. But it's the idea of, yeah, if they find you to be pretty, that's great. That's on them. I'm going to see myself how I see myself. And I mean, we should see ourselves in a positive light. I hate when I hear people talk so negatively about how they look or whatever that might be. But yeah, so don't take things personally either way. And then the last one was always do your best and you'll never be disappointed. And I love that book. It's such a good one. I want everyone to read it. But the one that I've read recently that I really think affected my life was Mel Robbins wrote a book called The Let Them Theory. And a lot of the let them theory is about your relationship to other people. And a lot of us sometimes unknowingly try to control other people, even if we have really good intentions. I think the best example I had was when we had our roommate Deandra live with us. She was going through a breakup, and when she moved in, she really wanted to like get her foot in the art career and like really give it her best shot. So when she moved in, immediately I set kind of a agenda for her of, okay, you have to post twice a week on Instagram. You have to start making this pin. I was like creating an agenda for her to follow that was very reminiscent and basically a reflection of my own career path. And I wanted it to work for her as well. And then when she wasn't following through with it, I would slowly, unknowingly to me, build up a resentment to her because it's like, I'm giving her all this advice. Why is she not following it? And then eventually it led into actual resentment where it was like, this person clearly doesn't value my opinion. I don't value to them. And they're going to just do whatever they want because I know nothing. You know, it was like that kind of a mentality. When in truth, it's like, no, I was trying to control her, and no adult human wants to feel like someone else is controlling their actions. And another buzzword, but the autonomy of what they're doing. And I realized, oh my gosh, what I should have done when she moved in is asked her, how is she doing? How has the breakup, how is she feeling about it? Does she want to talk about it? Because that's what she actually needed, a friend, not someone, you know, shoving a business agenda down their throat. And it taught me a lot about myself on how, yeah, even if you have good intentions, like, yeah, I really want to see her succeed in the art world, but you're also trying to control how they succeed. And the idea behind the book is basically saying you have to let them. You can give them advice if they ask for it, but you can't live their life for them. And in a lot of ways, it kind of helped me too when, like, if I notice that someone is kind of bad-mouthing me behind my back, or I just get the hint. Now, mind you, don't make assumptions, agreement number 2. But you can usually sense, I think intuition can usually give you a good hint of like, okay, that was weird. That was a weird conversation. Or, oh, that was a glare. Or like, you just get these little subtle pickups. Anyways, I used to care about it a lot because I don't want people that are in my life that I care about to dislike me or to have something against me or whatever it is. And then after I read this book in January, I was like, you know what? Let them. I don't need them to like me. And if they don't recognize that I do have good intention in my heart, then that's on them. And I'm just going to move on to other people that will give me that intention. And weirdly, there were 2 examples that I use now. I don't want to say to like test my friends, but kind of. My new art book came out. It's right back here, and we're still waiting on the shipment of them before we ship them out. So if you did back my Kickstarter, just know it's coming. But I would bring out the book to people and just be like, yeah, I finished this book. I'm really proud of it. I'm just happy it's done so I can move on to other things. There have been some friends who gave me the reaction of like, oh my God, Tim, this is awesome. Can I look through it? And then like pick it up and they're like, wow, blah, blah. And then there are other people who didn't even pick up the book. Like, oh, okay. And then move on, like the conversation just moves on. And then I realized, wow, I have been giving a lot of time and energy and effort to a lot of people that looked at something that I'm really proud of, an accomplishment in my life that I'm proud of. And literally it was like a throwaway. It was just like, it was like a nothing. And I'm like, why did I care so much about your opinion when you don't even care about anything that I'm doing? And I feel like I'm caring a lot about what you're doing. And then I like started pulling back. And then the other big thing was our wedding. Josh and I got married last June. It was a rather big wedding, but I noticed a lot of people would either step up or step back. And the people that stepped up are now some of my closest friends. And then I was really surprised by some of the people that stepped back, because there's, that assumption, don't make assumptions, that they would want to help out more. They would, recognize that this is a stressful time and step up as a friend the same way that I would for them if they were getting married. So in this last year, basically what I'm trying to say is, because I'm getting to my 5th point, is you want to surround yourself with those who genuinely wish you success and happiness. And I have been doing that the last 6-ish months. And I have found such beautiful friendships in, especially two artists that come to mind are Audrey Benjaminson, who is amazing, and Babs Webb, who is equally amazing. And when I talk to them, it's never about other people. It's never about gossip, drama, celebrity, culture, politics, any of that. Audrey really loves thread count of medieval rugs, which is fascinating. Babs and I will always talk about books that we love to read. And I feel like I'm growing and I'm improving as a person, like I'm leveling up as a person, just being in their presence. Those are the type of people you want in your life. And what was the other thing I wrote down here? Oh, if you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people, you'll know, because you can recognize that there's a difference between trying to impress someone and trying to be yourself around them. And I think for a lot of being in an art career for as long as I have, there's a lot of times where a friendship bleeds into like being a coworker, if you want to call that, because we do conventions together or whatever it is. And over time, you'll realize, oh, I don't, even though they're fun to be around, we're not like friends. We're more like acquaintances, because what I put into a friendship is more than they put in. And it was a kind of a hard pill for me to swallow, that I am a lower priority for some of my friends than they are to me. And that has been a very big growing moment for me, because then I've been actively aware of, okay, well then what happens when I give more time and energy to the people that are giving me a lot of their time and energy, rather than just giving it equally to everyone in my life. And because I'm becoming more exclusive with who I'm giving my time and energy away with, I'm seeing the returns tenfold. And the friendships that I've been nurturing have been blossoming, and that has only improved not only my confidence, which is something that, getting to the point of the topic of the stream, but then my art's been flourishing as well. Because now when I finish a piece, I can like excitingly share that with the friends, and they can do the same in return when they finish a piece and share it with us. Now, here's a good way to gauge it as well. When you finish actually, should I make this a question? No, I'm not going to make this a question, but you can answer this in chat if you want to. When you finish something that you are proud of, like something that is like an obvious achievement, who do you share that with without it sounding like bragging? And that alone has been very eye-opening to me. And I'm curious if you also feel the same. Do you think it would be hard to share something that you're proud of because it would come across as bragging? Or do you have people in your life where they will be so proud of what you've accomplished and they will hype you up? We have a friend, her name's Corinna. We always joke that she's the best hype person in the world, because you literally do anything of whatever, something that you're excited that you finished, and she's like, that is incredible. This is amazing. Do you know how, like, and you can tell she's genuine in the way that she says it. But yeah, it kind of makes you want to do it more. It's like, yeah, if like Josh finished knitting a blanket, yeah, if he gets this level of hype surrounding it, guess what he wants to do again? Knit another blanket. I think it's really sad when we have people in our life where we show something that we're proud of and want to share with them, only to be met with either resistance or even worse, apathy. I was like, why? Those aren't the people you want to be surrounding yourself with. And we get to choose, outside of family, obviously, but we get to choose who we surround ourselves with. So, like, I've become very aware of who am I surrounding myself with. All right, so we can kind of see. Okay, pumpkin guy's starting to take shape. I have, like, a half hour left? I'll probably have to finish this off stream because I talk so much. But at least I want to get it to a place where you can kind of see the end results. Maybe throw in a little more of the like wrinkle details and whatnot. So then from here, I'm going to open it up. Oh wait, what was my last thing I wrote down? Oh yeah. I want all of you to recognize, if you truly love the person you are, I think there's a sense of creating your own confidence in that, where because when you enjoy who you are and being in the body that you live in, the headspace that you are every day, it's very easy to create from that place of like a solid foundation. I think oftentimes if our head is in a funk, or we think very negatively about ourselves, our work, the situations we're in, the people we're around, it becomes like an immediate consumption, or like it takes up so much of our thinking time every day, where I would say it's probably better to work on that first before we focus like hard on whatever you're trying to do in the art world, or where you want to take your direction in art. Because like I said, I think your mindset is the most powerful tool you have. And if you're being bogged down by things that directly affect that mindset and prevents you from working, that needs to be addressed then first. In my mind, there's nothing more important that would take precedent. So yeah, the last thing I wrote is just, be kinder to yourself. And I really think everyone should have a picture of their younger self on their desk while they're working. Because if you ever want to be reminded of who you're doing the work for, and if you feel like you can't do it for yourself, do it for them. And I think you'll see that a lot of what art making is for other people, but more importantly, it is for yourself first and foremost. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to open up the questions. We're going to open up the floor. So for the last 30-ish minutes here, as I'm drawing, if you have any questions for me, do you want to see something on a future live stream? I'm definitely open to suggestions. Like I said, me coming back to streaming is me wanting to connect more on like a basis where we're talking to each other more, not me just rambling for 2 hours, which I know I have a bad habit of. But I do want to get to know you guys better. I do want to address issues that you feel that are in the art community. Ones that are even greater than just like AI. I think there's so many other artists that hit that topic. So if there's something that you feel like, if you can sense the vibe of what I'm going for these streams, and you want me to do an entire stream on it, I would love to hear it. And you can join our Discord, because I'm on that every day. I'll be, even tomorrow, Josh and I will be on the Thursday live stream. We just chatting with the draw with the chat for like an hour and a half. Sorry, my dyslexia is coming out there. So yeah, and it's free to join. You don't have to be a Patreon backer or anything. A says, Babs book club stream special when? Honestly, if you guys would want to see it, I would love to have Audrey and Babs on a live chat like this talking about books. We joke that we want to form a book club because Babs is moving to Wisconsin in a couple years, and we read books all the time, and we recommend books. And there are a lot of, I don't like calling them self-help, because that sounds like self-deprecating in a way, like, oh, we're in such a bad place, we need a book to help pick us up. I call them self-improvement books, because it basically takes you where you're at currently and tries to build upon that. And we read a lot of those. So if any of you are interested in any of those type of books, we could definitely do a stream talking for a while about those type of books. Or just to have, I think Babs is just a good person. I think she's the most empathetic person I've ever met in my life. And I think she would just be a good one to talk about. I don't know about empathy in general, but like why it's good to see everyone as an extension of yourself. I know I get a little trippy-dippy when I talk about my beliefs in my philosophies, because I very much believe like we are all connected. We're all the same organism, just separated by physical boundaries, but like we're all in this together. We're all each other. So when I see a stranger, like that is an extension of myself, even though we're not physically connected, if that makes sense. And I think she has somewhat of a similar mindset. So we could definitely talk more about like the philosophy of that kind of a thing. Or maybe you just want to hear about art. Probably the thing a lot of you came to begin with. You're like, I could care less about any of philosophy nonsense. I just want art advice. We can give that too. So I'm very aware that I'm going to let the general vibe of the stream and the community that we're building together kind of dictate what type of streams you'd want to see more in the future. Maybe you want to see more art-focused streams where I'm not chatting as much, and I'll have Josh read me questions so I can focus right here on the drawing. And yeah, maybe you want to see like, how do I approach drawing hands? like a very objectable, practical skill set that I could share my advice on. Joe the Wizard said, I would love to see you stream on how much growth can sneak up on you, like the ice cube analogy. I would love to do that one. Actually, because I've been thinking about what I want to do for next week. Maybe that will be next week's. Actually, Josh, if you're listening, could you make a Discord channel on our secret one and then write that as an idea? Because then we'll just keep tabs on all of these. And then we'll choose a couple days before the stream on which one we want to tackle. Hey, Mom said it was my turn to be the main organism. I don't even know what that means. You might have to give me context. Kieran says, how do I nurture and encourage my daughter's obvious talent for art/drawing without really knowing enough about art fundamentals? Resources for younger children without being overwhelming. I would almost treat this in the same way that, oh gosh, what are those schools called? Josh, what's the school that Corinna went to when she grew up? The one where the teachers follow the kids' interests. I think it starts with an M. It bothers me that I can't remember. But essentially, if you can sense that your daughter has like a true interest in it, I would just ask her questions and then follow through. Like if you can tell, you'd be like, so what type of like, or better yet, take her like on a hike or something and then ask her questions about like, oh, what type of forest creature would live here? I think kind of nurturing the creative energy in her at a young age will just like plant the seeds that will flourish along the way, because then you're getting them in a mindset where you're actively seeing the world. And actually, I'm reading this book right now called, I think it's The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And he talks a lot in the first few chapters about how the world is constantly giving us inspiration and source material to work with. But as we get older, we filter so much out because we're only looking for things that help us out objectively, like how to make money or where are we getting our food next, that kind of nonsense. But he's saying you try to take those filters away from the source that, you know, we're taking in and start to see the world in a way of like, oh, wow, I love how that orange reflects through that leaf in the subsurface scattering. And oh, how cool would it be if this whole tree was like glowing orange leaves? And what kind of a world would have trees that can grow leaves that glow in the middle of the day? Like it pushes you in a different mindset. So I would say just keep nurturing that child's mindset to stay in like the creative realm, and try not to take her so much into the objective realm. And like, yeah, there's a lot of things that objective realm can help us with, like obviously staying afloat financially. But weirdly, I think if you're more alive and present in the creative realm, it'll make the objective realm easier. Because like if I'm thinking of a really cool idea for a new card deck or whatever, and I'm just like in that mind space, well, guess what? I'm going to make money when I sell that card deck because either the idea or the creativity that went into that card deck resonates with like a lot more people because it felt more authentic on the back end. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Monastery. Monastery? I think that's correct. Yes. Montessori? One of those. But yes, if Josh and I ever had kids, that's kind of the direction I would want to take it in. Because I like the idea that the teachers follow the kids' interests. Like if they're interested in fish, then you take them to an aquarium. You get them a fish and have them take care of it, and then have them note like their patterns or, you know, things like that nature. Or if I wanted them to be more like artsy, yeah, like maybe take them to either an aquarium or whatever it is where they can take pictures of the fish and then maybe paint them when they get back or take their own reference pictures. It gets them in the mindset of how to take reference from life and then use those for your own creation process. Card, wait a minute. How are you? I am doing wonderful. I don't know if that was meant for me, but I'm in the best mindset I've ever been in my entire life. I have been for the last like 3 months, actually like 4 months. Finishing the book really took a weight off me, and then getting back into art and remembering how much I love what I do that has been really fulfilling. And then now that I'm in a position where I feel like I want to give back to other artists and be a hype man for other artists, it just feels right. I feel like I'm in a good place right now. Let's see here. Sophia, hey, says, how does one not be such a hermit in person and online? I feel like I'm just in my own world and home, and it's been hard to go online and post, but it's my job, so... Okay, there's two things I want to address in that. Yes, I think if art is your career, there is some level of engagement with either social media, mailing lists, website, like all that stuff. There will most likely be a lot of that you have to engage with to some degree. And I think making it fun for yourself, I know like Patreon is always something I want to engage with more, but I'm always like, I just don't know how to do it. And it feels like it takes away from the actual drawing time. And I used to be way more involved with like step-by-steps and stuff like that. But I'm like, you know what? I think Patreon should be an extension of what you want to give back to the world. And if things like let's say YouTube is not your thing, don't force yourself to do YouTube. It's not a good fit. If you feel like making short form video content is not your thing, don't do it. I've had so many people tell me, oh, you have to though, if you want to make, you don't. I can think of two friends, I'm not going to name their names, but they make well over 300K and they barely have an online presence. They are very prominent at shows, we'll say, but they definitely don't care about anything outside of that. And I'm not saying that that's like the plan everyone should go with, but it has definitely given me an objectable example in my life where like, yeah, you don't have to be super social. But two, you're also a really fun person to be around. I'm surprised that you wouldn't be like out and about with people all the time. You just seem awesome. But anyways, the second question was, I feel like I'm in my own world and home and it's been hard to go, or how do I not be such a hermit? Sorry, the first part. There was another good part in this Let Them Theory book by Mel Robbins where it talks about adult friendships. This is the one that really got to me. This is the one where it has changed the way I look at the people in my life, my relationship with Josh, the friends that I want to make in the future. And she talks about how, all right, ready, story time. When we're kids and when we're in high school and when we're in college, we are surrounded by people all the time. So fostering friendships, it comes very organically without us even trying because we're around them every day. We have to be. So with enough time and proximity, you're just going to befriend these people and you're going to build on deeper connections. Sometimes this lasts for a lifetime. Sometimes it was just for that stage in your life, and that's okay. But then what she says in our mid-20s, I forget the exact phrase, but it's like the great separation. And the idea is you're no longer going to school and seeing your friends as much as you used to on like a daily basis. Now you have to actually like plan to see them. And it goes from like seeing them almost every day, especially if you're roommates in college or whatever the situation might be, to like maybe once or twice a month. And there's this great pull that you feel because all of a sudden you feel very isolated because everyone's growing and they're becoming more unique in their personality. And we just naturally spread away from one another. And one day you wake up and you're like, I'm not close with my friends like I used to be. Like what happened? Like where did all my friendships go? And she talks about how because we feel that sense of like not guilt, but like that weird feeling because it used to come organically because of the situations that we were in. But we have to be aware that we're no longer in those situations. Finding friends and keeping them now has become an active role where if you want to hang out with people more, if you want friendships outside of like work events or whatever it might be, you have to reach out. You have to plan things. You have to be the one actively participating in adult friendships. And what I like is she gives a lot of examples in the book. But the thing I really resonated with was there's 3 pillars that create a friendship, and you need at least 2 for it to hold. And if you have 3, that's probably a great friendship. The 3 are proximity, how close you are to that person physically, because you need to see them physically for you to like really sustain a friendship. Mind you, like I said, you don't need all 3, you just need 2. So if you have a long distance friendship, yeah, that can definitely hold and that can be a good, strong friendship because you have the other 2 very strongly. And the other 2 are timing. And what timing refers to, not like actual time, but where you are in life. So like a good example is I have a friend who just had a baby. Her timing in life, way different than my timing in life. What she's going through right now, I can't relate to. I can listen to her. I can ask her questions. I can, be there for her, but I can't relate to her. So she found other young moms that she could connect to because that is what she needs right now in this life. At this stage in her life is to connect with other young moms. And then the third one is energy. This is the one that's often felt the most when it feels sad. And it's because, are you both putting in the energy to make this friendship happen? And like I said, you don't need all three, you need two. But if you have all three, that's amazing. And that's where you get like these best friendships and you're hanging out and you see each other all the time, like once a week. And I used to have that for the most part. But then, as you get older, people change, priorities change, and you're on different wavelengths. And then you start to recognize, oh, okay, so maybe we aren't as close as we used to be. Or maybe it's the opposite, where someone that you used to not really be that close with, all of a sudden, what they're talking about or what they're going through is something you wildly relate to, and you want to get to know them better because you feel like there's a connection there just waiting to happen. So yeah, I think when I hear you talk about that, it just made me think of that so much, because if you feel like you're isolated or you're not seeing people enough, I almost then challenge you to be the active participant in the friendship. And I know that can be hard because I know a lot of us think, well, why can't it be the other person? Why am I always one making the effort? And I know Josh and I have talked about this a lot because we're always the one hosting gatherings. And I think we've kind of positioned ourselves now where we are the hosting friends, which is fine. I love hosting actually, and Josh does too. But it would be nice to be invited to other things that we are not the ones planning, and just realizing that and being like, okay, well, what friends do invite us to things? And maybe we should give that more of an effort. But we also can't guilt other people because maybe they're not the ones that can facilitate a gathering, or they're just not in a good mindset where they can't be a host of a lot of people, or the pressure is too much, or the money, whatever it might be. So instead, we now see is like when we host people, it's because we're choosing to, and we're not guilting them back if they don't invite us in return. But does that mean we're a little more, aware of who we're inviting and who we want to spend our time with? Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I guess long story short, I would try to be more active in your friendship participation. Let's see here. Excluding me and Josh from being young moms when Casper and Astrid are right there. I know. Our cats. Such disrespect to their face. I will say, being a cat dad versus being a dog dad, I will admit, if you have a dog, your life is harder. Cats are so easy. At least ours are. I don't want to blanket statement, but man, it seems like cats are far easier to deal with. A Dark Lady of the Lullaby sweats in only one pillar. I think if you're recognizing that you and your friend are only in one of the pillars, you can still maintain that friendship, especially if energy is the one you're putting into it. That's probably the most important one, but it might not be as fulfilling as it used to because the timing is different. And because you can't physically see them because of proximity, it does make it harder. And then you'll feel that push and pull of wanting to be close with people, but then not having that same friendship that you used to. All right, I'll definitely have to finish this after the stream, but this has been great. Because I feel like I'm getting comfortable again with streaming. And I do like how this pumpkin dude's turning out, but definitely am not able to finish this. I'll give it let's say 15 more minutes here. I know Josh and I have to get ready. We have a bunch of artists staying over this weekend because Anime Milwaukee is happening. And we always host a bunch of people. So we have to get the house ready. We have to get some chips and dip, that kind of stuff, before people start arriving. Because I think our first guest will be here in literally 3 hours. So yeah, we just want to be prepared. What was the last? Oh, I did have another section. I wanted to talk about comparison and using comparison to your advantage. I'm going to make that its own separate stream because I think so often we hear comparing is such a negative thing, where the Let Them Theory book talked about it in like such a positive light, in how you can see that in a way to help your own path. And I really resonated with the way that it was described. And I think so often as artists we're comparing, but it's such a negative association that I want to like reframe that for artists. And it doesn't mean you copy paste what other people do, but I guess the general idea, well, I want to go into it further on an actual stream, but the general idea is if you see someone else succeeding in a field that you want to, instead of like getting bitter or jealous, that is honestly the greatest sign that you can do it too. You should be so thrilled. And this book talks about it extensively, but the idea is if you see someone doing what you want to do, know that then it's possible. They already created the roadmap. They've already carved a path that you can then follow a similar way, but do it in your fashion, whatever that looks like. And I'm a big believer in, what's that saying? Did I write it down? Because I always mess up the saying. Oh, here it is. A rising tide lifts all boats. I'm a firm believer in that quote. And when it comes to the art world, I believe that when you see another artist succeeding, we should be celebrating that as a fellow artist. That's amazing. Because not only does that show that it's possible, but it shows that there's a market where that can be feasible for you to then replicate. And I'm a big, you know how there's a saying of like being a girl's girl? I like to think of myself as equivalent. I don't want to say artist, but I want to be an artist hype man, because I'm realizing if I'm watching other artists do well, or if they create a new piece of merch or a print that does well, we should, like, that's awesome. That's great. How can we learn from that and apply it to ourselves, if even applicable, or otherwise maybe it's not applicable and you can just be happy for them that they're succeeding and just move on. Someone else's success doesn't take anything away from you, literally nothing. But oftentimes we get into these compare contrast mindsets because I think of the way that, I don't know if it's culture or I don't know what it is necessarily, but it's a very us versus them mentality. And if someone else is finding success, that means it's taking away something, even though it's not at all. And that's why I don't gatekeep anything, like where I get my products made, how I do any of my like money-making ventures, because what does that give me hiding that from other people? They'll find a way regardless, but instead of being someone that could have helped them and like maybe even in a grander sense, like mentored in some way, all of a sudden now you are the gatekeeper. And in the art world, it's just a weird thing to gatekeep any of that kind of stuff. Oh, oops, sorry. Okay, let me get these last couple of questions here, and then we'll cut it off. Elizabeth says, great to have you back, vonnart. I've missed your streams. I am excited to be back too. I hope you guys enjoy listening to me ramble, because I am here to stay. Houdini Bob says, Dark Lady of the Lullaby says, would you consider an extra mic near the paper for those sweet pencil sounds? Some ASMR. One day I really should record pencil ASMR, because I had a couple on TikTok years ago and they became like my most watched TikToks, and I was like, what the heck? But clearly there's a market for it. So I don't know, maybe I will actually. Houdini Bob says, this is so much fun. Glad you restarted doing it. Me too. I hope you guys had a good, sorry if I didn't get a lot of progress on this pumpkin guy. It's decent progress, right? Like this is like a good start. I feel like I probably have like 2 or 3 more hours before I could finish this, but it's a good start, I would say. And I like it. I'll probably finish it sometime this weekend because we have a convention, but I don't know. Joe the Wizard says, I hope Mel Robbins has you on her podcast. There is a lack of artists on motivational podcasts. I would love to be a guest artist on Mel's podcast. I really like Mel Robbins. The whole time I was reading her book, I was reading it in her voice. Like I could imagine her in the way that she would say it, her like dialect and her little, what's that called? The little like nuances and like the inflections, whatever it is. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. You know, I'm in that mindset where it's like, I can't say it will never happen because who knows? Maybe it will happen. Maybe being more of like a motivational speaker in the art world become my path. Because I really do feel like I want to give back to other people. And I heard this quote recently, and I think that's maybe also why I want to give back to other artists. See, I could get emotional thinking about this one. They were saying that winning the lottery isn't actually winning money. It's, oh God, I could cry. It's being born with supportive and loving parents. And I think about that a lot, where I think I had a really good upbringing, and my parents are so good. And they're supportive, not only my art career, they were very supportive when I came out when I was 25. I was really nervous to tell them, but they're conservative people. I grew up in Wisconsin, and it's a very conservative family that I grew up in. So I was like a little nervous on how they would take it, but they were so supportive. In my art career, they never tried to have me waver into something else. And I realized when I was watching this video, I was like, oh my God, I won the lottery. I had supportive parents. I had parents that were loving. We weren't the richest, but I could call them right now. They'll pick up. They will help me if I need anything. I'm like, oh my God, that is really actually the lottery. So the way that I can give back now, like passing it forward, is, oh, I could cry. There's a lot of artists that I know that actually most of them don't have a good family structure, and they don't have parents that were together, or they don't have people that really believe in them, let's just say. And I don't know if I'm recognizing that maybe my role in this world is to like be someone that could just tell them that they're doing a good job, or to be excited for them when they finish something. Like that's kind of where my mindset's at. And at first it was just within my own friend group. I wanted to, be like a hype man, but then I'm realizing, no, this extends far greater than just my inner circle. Like I want to give this energy and this level of like acceptance and encouragement to everyone that might be struggling with it. So sorry. Oh, like I said, pin drop, I could cry at anything, but I think I've been doing just so much self-reflection the last 6 months that it really does feel right, and it feels the direction I should be going in these lives. That's why I'm bringing the live streams back, because it just feels like now is the time, and I'm in the mindset where I could do it properly. Where if I was doing this a year ago when I was super stressed trying to plan the wedding and everything else that was going on, absolutely not. There is no way. But now that the biggest thing is in my life that I will ever probably have to plan for is behind Josh and I can just focus on making art, doing this tarot deck, making the storybook, doing cons. Absolutely, I can give back. Absolutely, I can give back to those who have supported me all this time. And oh my gosh, I'm wavering here. I'm wavering. But the last thing is, I realized even the life that I have, obviously I had a really good foundation and upbringing. But the people that really support and lift me to have this job today are you guys. Like, it's people that buy my art that allows me to be an independent artist. I wouldn't be able to do this without people, supporting my Patreon, buying my art on my website, or backing my Kickstarters. And the least I can do is, give back some encouragement, or tell them, that they're loved, and that their voice matters, and what they do matters. It's such like a simple sentiment to like give back, but I think as I get older, I'm becoming more and more in touch with that feeling. And I think that's why I'm hoping these live streams just continue that. So anyways, that is why I'm streaming again. I want to thank you all for coming back to this return stream. I know it's been a while. And I know it's going to probably take a little bit for me to build up these live streams and make sure that there's no tech issues. I'm amazed we haven't had any tech issues today, knock on wood. But I really do appreciate you all being here with me today, and I hope we can continue building something together. Before I cut the stream off, though, I'll read your final comments for sure. But I will say, in the future, I think we're going to do 12 p.m. Central time slot instead of 2 p.m. just because it makes more sense for not only the Europeans that are watching, but then for the Americans, 2 p.m. is like a weird time. And more people might be on their lunch break, or it might just be easier for them to access this time slot. So I think we're going to move it to noon starting next week. Besides that, yeah, I think that's most of the news I got. Okay, let me read your comments, and then we'll do a send-off here. Digital, don't. I'm going to cry, too. I'm telling you, pin drop. So easy. I didn't cry, though. I held it in. I sucked in those tears. Felix said, I think you see this with people who come into a lot of money without family support / alternative support network. They are often very lost souls. And the worst part about that is, like, I have one really, really close friend. I'm not going to name their name, but they had a horrible family structure. And the fact that they're able to do what they do without the support that they had, I'm like, I'm amazed by you. I had like the best support system that I could ever have. And even though it wasn't financial, I'm realizing that what my parents gave me of that, like that reinforcement of motivation, of confidence, of feeling loved and supported, that's what made me get to where I am today. And if I didn't have that, there's no way. I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way I would be in this position, being able to draw with my husband in the other room modding, selling our work, across the country doing cons. So when I see someone that didn't have that support and still is making the art world, I'm amazed. I'm literally amazed by them. I'm like, I don't know how you did it. I would love to hear your story. And I think what hurts the most is you can just tell they're in so much pain, but they use that pain to motivate them. And oh gosh, here I go again. And I'm realizing as I'm getting closer with this person that they're slowly switching out the parts that were pain that were driving them with parts of feeling accepted or loved. And it's been like a really hard process to do that. And I feel very lucky that I get to be a part of their experience and exchanging that. And that's why for me, it's like, yeah, if I can do what I do and all this person that I see is like an amazing artist, if all they need is a friend to be like, I don't like you because of your art. I like you for you as a person, and you're worth it, and you're worth it to me. That's the least I can do. So yeah, I agree, Felix. I totally agree. Elizabeth says, you've been such a great mentor and support for me just through these streams. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. That's why I'm hoping to continue them. A Wash of Stars says, thank you so much for a lovely stream. I hope I can catch more of them in the future. Yes, I'm going to be doing these every Wednesday. The only times I won't be doing them is if we are flying to a con and it takes up that Wednesday. Otherwise, Josh and I are going to be here every Wednesday doing this. So I just thank you for coming. Yeah, love you all. Very wholesome stream, yes. Jen says, are you going to stream on Wednesdays from now on? Yes, so I'm going to hold this time slot, but I'm going to do it at 12 p.m. Central instead of 2 p.m. And then I'll still do I do a Thursday chat with my Discord members. So if you want to join Discord, it's free. There's a link in the description. It's not like a guided stream like this because anyone can talk. Oftentimes I feel like other people talk more than I do and I just kind of listen, which I actually really enjoy because I used to just be like a listener and draw type person, especially in college. So you can join that if you want. Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow at noon Central Time on the Discord. Okay. And then, Sophia says, you are definitely a motivational speaker. It's just in you. You're a therapist and an artist, so you understand. Oh God, see, here it comes. You're amazing and inspiring. Thank you. Well, thank you, Sophia. Thank you for coming to the stream. I look at your art and I'm like, this is incredible. You're like really pouring who you are into your work. And I think, artists that I really get the sense that they're being vulnerable in their work, I'm really amazed by, and I'm just glad that they exist. So thank you for existing and putting out the work that you do. Okay. Clearly I need to stop streaming. I'm like literally a pull away from a go full out crying. So thank you so much for coming to this live stream today. I will be here next Wednesday. I will hopefully finish this pumpkin guy in the next couple days. I'm hoping to work on him behind the booth, and then I will post him on Instagram. I did mention, we had the Discord below. What was the other thing that I have? I think that's all the news that I really have right now. Yep, I think that's pretty much it. And then, yeah, if you want to see more of my work, I have my Patreon. But honestly, we have, that's the one thing I want to mention. We have a Discord challenge going on. So we have monthly challenges. And right now it's the likeness challenge. So if you want to join in, I'm going to try to give feedback to those who submit their own challenge this month and moving forward. And I'll have one of the Wednesday streams be specifically on capturing whatever that challenge is that month. So specifically this month, it'll be on capturing the likeness of someone and how to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Clearly, I need to get a tissue or something. But we got to go to the store and get ready for this weekend, and I will give updates on Amkey this weekend. So if you're gonna be in Milwaukee, hopefully we'll see you there. Anyways, thank you all for coming. I love you so much. I really should end these streams with like some kind of a saying. So maybe I'll end it with, what do I believe most right now? I'll say, be kind to yourself and know that what you do matters. You are not alone. I think that's how I'll try to end it with some kind of a sentiment. So thank you. Okay. Take care, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye, 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 bye.